Dear learners of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, warm greetings to all of you. Today we will talk about your course Sales and Distribution. As a part of it, we will concentrate on the lesson Personal Selling. Personal selling basically is one of the essential elements in your promotion mix, where as a part of promotion mix, we speak about advertising, personal selling, sales promotion, direct marketing, publicity and public relations. Today we will talk about personal selling, and we will concentrate on why it is important, what objectives does it attain, what is the role of personal selling in marketing, what are the various types of personal selling can be done. To begin with, let us understand what is meant by the word selling, because personal selling has two words, personal and selling. So let us understand what is meant by selling and then understand personal selling. The word sell is derived from a Norwegian word called skjelg, which means to serve. So when you talk about selling, you are talking about identifying who are your prospective consumers, understanding what are their needs, and then helping to fulfill their needs by providing various goods and services that you produce. People as such, consumers, have invariably they buy what they want even above what they need. So it is not essentially understanding only what they need, but also understanding what they want and then providing them with all those goods and services which will satisfy their needs and wants. So basically selling is serving a prospective consumer with all that you produce and all that you can serve the consumer with. Now when it comes to personal selling, it is the process of communicating with the potential consumer through face-to-face all the products and the services which the companies produce so that they can meet the needs and wants of the consumer. It is one of the most essential elements of company's promotion mix. As a part of your marketing mix, there are 4 P's: product, price, place, promotion. And as a part of promotion mix, again you've got the 5 elements: advertising, sales promotion, personal selling, direct marketing, publicity and public relations. So personal selling is one of the essential elements of your promotion mix, without which the company will not be able to serve their prospective consumers effectively. So process of communicating with your buyers through face-to-face medium is nothing but the concept of personal selling. That's how the word personal is attached to selling, because you are trying to establish a face-to-face communication or a direct communication with the prospective consumer. This process of personal selling is not new. Today, modern organizations concentrate on personal selling through various new innovative measures, but the concept of personal selling has been very traditional and very old. You see, in earlier days when the marketing function was not very prominent, at that time also companies sold through peddlers. So you had peddlers who would go sell door to door, and they served as an intermediary. They would buy the product from the company and have their products on their bicycles and three-wheelers, and they would pedal across the three-wheeler and the bicycle, and then they would go door to door and sell. So that concept of peddlers who would sell from door to door acting as an intermediary is basically the initial stage of personal selling. From that personal selling stage of peddlers, selling became a more structured function in an organization, where in the beginning of the 21st century we see that companies are putting lot of efforts in making the selling function more and more professional. Today we have got a lot of call centers, we have telemarketers, we have companies who are concentrating on helping the consumer to reach the company appropriately at the right time and buy the products of the company very well. So business organizations are engaging all kinds of salespeople, and selling today has become a much more professional function as such. So you see, right from peddlers, today you've got selling which has become a professional function. And people who are engaged in personal selling, the whole sales force, they engage in the activity of persuading the consumer. They convince the consumer that the product is needed by them, the product will satisfy their needs and wants. They will negotiate with the consumer on the price, on the terms and conditions of the sale. They have a consultative selling where they consult the experts and then see to it that they acquire the technical knowledge related to the product and convey the same to the consumer. And then there are all kinds of partnership strategies which are being engaged into. So persuasion, negotiation, consultative selling will be a part of your personal selling measures. So personal selling as such is not new, but it has been there since ages, where you talk about companies not even engaging modern marketing methodologies but selling door to door through their sales agent. So personal selling has been there since then. Now for marketing and for companies, this particular function of personal selling has been very important. So when you say why is personal selling important, personal selling is important from the perspective of a business, from the perspective of a consumer, and for the society as such. So let us examine what kind of benefits or importance the personal selling has to the company, to the consumers, and to the society. Looking at the benefits which the business can get from personal selling, it is one of the most effective promotional tools which are there, because when a person talks face to face and convinces the consumer about the product, the demonstration, the quality, the features, the style, the performance, that becomes more convincing than any other method of selling. So it is one of the most effective promotional tools which are there. It is also very flexible, because you can engage more people when you have more demand. You can do number crunching in case you are lacking funds. You can remove your salespeople. So it's a very flexible tool, and depending upon what kind of market forces are there of demand and supply, you can have variations in your personal selling techniques which can be there. Similarly, all kinds of efforts where you are not sure whether it will generate return or not, those can be minimized in case you have personal selling tool which can be adopted by the company. And maximum customer attention can be gained only through personal selling, because you have a person who is there live, demonstrating, presenting, handling objections, and then selling the product to you. So that is the most convincing way of selling. So therefore more and more consumers get attracted when people do that. Today we see in our daily lives as well, people who come and sell a lot of products in their bags or as a part of their cart to our houses. They get these products and they demonstrate these products to us. So therefore we feel more satisfied when we see the demonstration and then we listen to the sales pitch of the person. So consumer attraction and attention will be very high. So for the company it is beneficial as such. Same way, when a sales agent actually strikes a deal with the consumer through personal selling, that enhances a long lasting relation between the company and between the consumer, because there is a personal rapport which is there, and the company is able to establish a long term relationship with the consumer. And personal selling is also one of the most essential tools which the company can engage in the introduction stage of their product, because product life cycle has got 4 stages: introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. In all the 4 stages, marketers have got different types of marketing strategies which they adopt. So therefore in your introduction stage, when you want to grab consumer attention and you want the consumers to be convinced about the product, about its features and its utility, personal selling is the best method to do that. So it has got a prominent role to play in your introduction stage. So for a business, it offers a lot of advantages in these measures. But even for a consumer, there are a lot of benefits which personal selling will provide. It will basically help in identifying their needs. As a consumer, you see, there have been companies like Eureka Forbes, when they were selling their water purifiers and vacuum cleaners, they actually came door to door and demonstrated how the water purifier works or a vacuum cleaner works. So therefore the consumer was convinced that yes, there is a need for us to buy a vacuum cleaner or a water purifier. So it helps in identifying consumer needs, and it will also provide latest market information. As a consumer, today you've got a whole lot of social media which is available to us, through which we can get information. But how do we believe whether the information is authentic or not? So that is missing there. Through personal selling, you can get a very authentic market information because you have the company person only who is coming and selling the product to you, and then that particular person is an expert in that area, so consumer naturally will get an expert advice, and personal selling induces consumer to buy the product. So for the consumer also, there are a lot of benefits which will come. Similarly, for the society also, there are a lot of benefits which comes because personal selling will convert the latest demand. It will provide whole lot of employment opportunities to people who are actively participating in the function of selling. So you can have sales agents, sales force who can be appointed, and you will have mobility of these sales people easily, which can be done. So for the society also, there are a lot of advantages which personal selling provides. So the importance of personal selling, you can say that it is important for the business, it is important for the consumer, and it is also important for the society as such. So you cannot rule out on the importance of personal selling in this whole gamut of marketing. Now when you see why should a company rope in sales people to do personal selling, there are a lot of objectives which personal selling actually achieves. So let us concentrate on what are the objectives of personal selling. First of all, awareness about the product. So awareness while building product, that can be given through personal selling. So how do consumers become aware about the product? It is through personal selling, where people have face-to-face interaction and go door to door and promote their product, that consumers will become aware about that particular product. Similarly, interest can be generated. So interest can be created because these personal sales agents provide a lot of information, they encourage demand, and then they also reinforce that the brand is essential for the consumer to satisfy their need or want. So therefore, objectives of personal selling basically to generate awareness, to create interest in the consumer, provide information to the consumer, encourage demand, and then reinforce that the brand actually is useful to the consumer. And personal selling actually is important because it helps in buying and selling process to go very smooth. And you have the sales people of the company only who is representing to the consumer, so you have the authenticity of the information and the products which goes. And they also provide you market information, who are the leading competitors, what kind of prices are being charged, what is the quality assurances and standardization of the product. So you have market information also which is being provided, and strategy decisions of the company are also taken because sales people will go back to the company and provide information about the market demand. So therefore, company can also take lot of strategic decisions depending upon what kind of information is provided back by the sales people to the company as such. Usually there is a lot of confusion between what is personal selling, what is salesmanship, and what is sales management. All these three are different because there is a thin line of difference between all. All of them no doubt are related to sales only, but there is a thin line of difference between the three, that is personal selling, salesmanship, and sales management. Personal selling basically is an act of engaging the customer and persuading them to buy the product. So you inform and you persuade the consumer that look, this is the product that we sell and this product will fulfill your need and want, so you got to buy it. So customers are persuaded to buy the particular product. That is what is personal selling. Whereas salesmanship is actually the art and skill of initiating the selling effort. So whom are you employing as your sales agent, what kind of skills, capabilities they have got, that entire process is your salesmanship. Whereas sales management is the whole act of planning, coordinating, directing, controlling the entire sales process. So you see the linkages which will be established between the three: personal selling, salesmanship, and sales management. Now when you say personal selling, what all do these sales agents do when they engage in personal selling? So there are basically 6 steps which are there in personal selling. The first one is to do with prospecting and qualifying. Second is to approach the consumer, that is your pre-plan. Third is to present and demonstrate the product. Fourth is to handle all kinds of objections. Fifth is to close the sale, strike a deal, and most people assume this to be last, but ahead of this there is one more, which is follow up. so that the consumer can remain satisfied. So you have all these as your steps in personal selling. Now when you talk about these steps, the first step is prospecting and qualifying. The process of identifying potential buyers is called as prospecting. Say for example, I am going to sell some products for which my target market is so and so consumer group. Now how do I know that only those people will buy my product? That process of identifying the potential buyer is called as prospecting. In a market like India, where you have population exceeding 1 billion, how do you know that who will buy your product? So you have to identify who are the potential buyer. That entire process of identifying who are the potential buyer is called as prospecting. No doubt all of us might be getting messages on our phones or emails, or people may be calling us and then asking us about if we are interested in buying a product or taking a service. How is it that they know that we are a part of that particular target market? Because they have an entire process of identifying the potential buyers. So that process of identifying the potential buyer is called as prospecting. So prospect is nothing but a person who may be able or who may be eligible to buy your product. So justifiably he may be having some financial resources and he may be having the particular need and a desire to buy your product, so you call him as a prospect. Say for example, if I am selling baby care products, then all the mothers will be my prospective buyers. So therefore I have to identify who all are the mothers of the newborn babies, and then I have to identify them as prospects because they will be the potential consumers for my product. So that will be the first step in your personal selling, identifying your prospective buyers, which is called as prospecting. Now once you have identified the prospective buyers, you have to generate a lead, which is called as lead generation, where here you talk about what is it that the target market wants, what will it buy, where will it buy, when will it buy, how will it buy. So answering all these questions of your target market. So as I gave the example of baby care products, all your mothers who have given birth to the new babies, what do they want, when will they buy, how will they buy, from where will they buy? If I answer all these questions, that's a part of my lead generation process. So how will I generate leads? I will do advertising, I will do telemarketing, I may be holding trade shows, I may be directly sending mails to them, or I may be buying data from popular databases. Nowadays you've got databases, companies which do a lot of consumer profiling, where through the profiles of the customers you buy the data from a third party and then you cull out. Say for example, if I am looking for newborn mothers of newborn babies, then I may consult all these hospitals, and then I buy the database from them only related to how many people have given birth in the recent past, and then I start contacting all of them. So this is a method of gathering leads, and then I qualify those leads. So in your prospecting, you first of all identify who will be the person who will buy, then how will you be able to reach that particular person. So that is called as prospecting and lead generation. Then once you have identified and once you have generated a lead, now you have to do pre-sales planning, that is selling for the first time to the prospect. So you have to have a complete knowledge about the product. As a sales agent, I should have acquired complete knowledge about the product, about the company whom am I representing, the category to which they are serving, segment of consumers to whom I am serving, who are my competitors in the market, how am I better from them. All this information I need to have in my hand, because my prospective consumer may ask me all this. So how did the product evolve, features, benefits, the uniqueness, the price, history of the company, management, policy, value system, competition, all this data and information I should have with me before I actually approach the prospect. So this is called as your pre-sales planning, where I am, as a sales agent, I am equipping myself with all this knowledge before I actually go and talk to my prospect. So you do acquire all this knowledge about competitor, about product, about company, about market, consumer knowledge, all this you have, pre-sales planning. Then you actually pre-approach planning. So when you approach, determine why are you calling them, What are you going to ask them? What kind of benefits are they looking? How do you go about making presentation to them? What is the flow and the content of that particular presentation? So as a sales agent, you have to understand the consumer need and prepare your entire proposal which is revolving around that particular consumer need. Then now when you approach them, you have to present the product to them, you have to demonstrate to them. So you have different types of presentation and selling methods. One can be stimulus response, which is called as a caned approach, where you talk about, you memorize. As a sales agent, you memorize that, these are all the things that I have to tell to my consumer, and whatever is the right stimuli, I hit that particular stimuli with a favorable response. So you call stimulus response method. All information I acquire, I memorize, and then I go and present to my prospective consumer. That can be one. You can also go for a formula method, where you talk about IDA, attention, interest, desire and action. Or you can go about, need satisfaction measure, where you tell the consumer that this is the need and this is our product which will satisfy your need. So you help the consumer to match the need with the product. Or you can talk about, feature, benefit and advantages. FAB method we call it, features, advantages and benefits of that particular product. So that way you can go ahead and do presentation. So when you are presenting, it is essential that as a sales agent, you attract the attention. When you start your pitch, you have to convince the consumer that they should listen to you and then get interested in your product, and then build that particular desire, and then they have to finally act and buy your product. So initially, when the attention is not established, the whole lot of process goes a waste. So it is very important that when you begin the sales pitch as a sales agent, the consumer should actually get attracted to your product. So attracting attention, creating interest, building desire and conviction, and initiating the consumer to take up an action of buying that particular product. Sometimes what happens, you can have multiple sales team who can do a sales pitch, where you call it as buying committee or multi-person buying center. So the sales team may comprise of an account executive, you can have a technical support engineer, there can be a logistic expert, IT expert, finance executive. Then you can have a buying committee who can have a materials manager, finance executive, supply chain manager. All these people will help the sales team in order to sell that particular product. So you can have a team selling method which can be there. There can also be a consultative method, where you talk about problem solution. Know the industry, know your clients, know the key member needs and all, and then match the product with the solution to the company. This will be a part of your presentation. So first step was prospecting and qualifying. Second was a part of your pre-sales talk, that is pre-approach. Then you actually approach the consumer and do presentation. Now while you are presenting, it is essential that consumers have got invariable doubts, questions, objections about your presentation. So they will start opposing, they will resist, they will ask questions while taking the order. So all these objections should be welcomed by the salesperson, and they should indicate, it indicates that the prospective is getting interested and they are actually involved in the entire process. So objections, actually when somebody is objecting or asking for a clarification, it means that they have been listening to you, and then your sales pitch and your sales presentation has been going in the right direction. So prospect is involved and prospect is not indifferent. So it will reflect the prospect's view. And these objections can sometimes be psychological, the objections can sometimes be logical, sometimes be practical, sometimes be real. Sometimes the objections can be just because of anxiety, suspect about quality of the product, disliking in making decisions. Sometimes you have your mind which is fixed, and then as a consumer you have some kind of psychological objections which can be there. Some of the objections can be real, like when will I receive the delivery of the product, why is the price so high, why is the product not available in the market and you are coming and selling this. All these can be the practical objections which can be there. So as a sales agent, I should be in a position to handle all these objections which should be there. So I should listen, I should understand, I should negotiate. So I should listen to the objections, I should help the prospective consumer ask questions, listen to them, rephrase, reconfirm the objection and explain to them. Let the objection be converted into a benefit which the consumer is listening, and then you close the trial. then very tactfully the objections have to be handled. The salespeople are trained not to be arrogant and sarcastic, but they have to handle these objections very tactfully. The sales agent can also handle objection by referring back to some of the consumers who must have already bought, getting their testimonials and giving them valid reflections on their objections which are there. Then you negotiate. So in the negotiation process, what actually happens is the sales agent is actually trying to build an atmosphere of trust, understanding and respect, and you can engage in a style of win-lose, win-win or lose-lose. Win-lose is one where you have convinced the consumer and consumer is readily accepting the product, and both of them are in a situation of winning. The consumer is convinced that the product has to be bought by the consumer and you are striking the deal. Lose-lose situation is one where you are not able to strike a deal and the consumer has not understood the purpose of your sales pitch and you have lost that particular consumer. Once your process is over, now you will go for closing the sale, where you will summarize the entire sales pitch. You will explain to the consumer the advantages of buying the product, and then you will minimize the kind of disadvantages of buying the product, what kind of an opportunity benefit is there, and there is also an emotional appeal where you will tell the consumer that if they don't buy, they will be missing out on a lot of things which may come along with it. So emotional appeal should be there, and then you close that particular order. Always the sales agent should ask for the order, should help the consumer and say that yes, it's time for you now to place the order. So once the sales pitch is coming to an end, you have to take the order and place the order for the consumer. This process will be the same whether it is the sales agent is selling a product or a service. But in a service, a little more concern is there because you don't have a tangible product to demonstrate. So there consumers will, as a sales agent, you have to recognize that you are a service industry. There is a back office which is there, and there is a service savvy sales force which is present with you, and you are focusing on the entire consumer process. So there is a slight variation which can be there because standardization process is very low in case of a service when compared to a product. Products are standardized, but for services are not standardized. So therefore in services selling, you have to have a separate sales force, incentive systems are different, documentation tools and processes are different, the sales force readiness is different, consumer understanding of that service is different because tangibilization will have to take place. So when you are selling services, there is a different approach which the consumer will have to, sales agent will have to have for the consumer. Now when you talk about your types of selling function, you can take it as order takers, sellers who are taking the order and then processing the order from inside, taking the order from delivery sales people, taking the order as an outside order taker. Or you can be an order creator, you can be an order getter, you can also be a sales agent who is in the front line, so frontline sales people, or you can be a sales support salesperson. So that way you will have basically missionary sales people, new businesses are there, or you have technical support people, or when you are selling merchandise, tangible products, then you have the sales support people which can be there. So these will be the various types of selling which is there. So in today's session, what we have discussed is what is meant by personal selling, where it is not a new concept which is there but has been there since ages, where you talk about peddlers going door to door and selling. Then at the end of this 21st century, as we approach, we talk about personal selling becoming more professional in nature, where sales agents are engaged, trained, motivated in order to sell. You have the advantages which move to the company, to the consumer and to the society, and then most importantly, creation of awareness. Your entire process of attention, interest, desire, action is fulfilled through your sales agent. And then you have the different types of selling which can happen from within, from outside, as an order taker, as an order creator and as an order getter, frontline sales people who are there, sales support sales people who are there, technical sales people who are there, and then the whole process of personal selling, where you have the 6 steps which are involved, right from prospecting, qualifying, approaching, presenting, demonstrating, handling objection, closing sales and following up of this entire sale, so that your consumer will remain satisfied. So in all this, we understand that personal selling is one of the essential elements of promotion, and promotion becomes an essential element of your marketing. So as a part of your sales and distribution, when you say selling as a function generating revenue, personal selling becomes an essential element in that particular process of sales management. Thank you so much.